his wife is Irish. And she was like, you have to do this film, Jeremy. You owe it to them. You owe it to them.
You did this.
You did this. Like, it affected the crew a lot. There were crew that, we were destroyed.
Stop! There will be no water dispensed without my permission, I'm afraid. You.
I am honored to be joined by Annemarie Jacir, one of the most prominent voices in world cinema and a pioneer at the Palestinian narrative. Today, we discuss her most ambitious work yet, Palestine36, a historical epic that shows us that the roots of the present are deeper than we ever imagined. Annemarie, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being with us today. You've called yourself a history nerd regarding the revolt of 1936, and you've worked on it for so many years. Tell us what that was like.
It was, I've considered it the project of my life. I've been working in cinema for a long time, and this project I've always known was going to be the biggest, most complicated film I will make. And it's been in the making for almost a decade since I started to write, do the research, and financing the whole fundraising process of it, because we don't have support for these kinds of films of this scope in our region. Yes. So it was also a big part of the process, but really delving into the research, whether it was looking at archives or oral histories, and the tons of books, academic and history, books that are written about this period, which there are a lot. There haven't really been any films about this period, but there's a lot of historical and academic works about it. So it was a deep dive.
What was the most shocking thing that you learned?
I think for me the first shocking thing, there were many shocking things, but I think the first thing is when I read about the massacre in Al-Bassa in 1938. Because we always talk about the massacres we don't always talk about the massacres of 48, but we know now about all the massacres of 48.
Deir Yassin is a big one.
Deir Yassin, Dawaima, there were many all over Palestine, but when I read about massacre in 1938 by the British, that surprised me. And of course, that was only the beginning. That was the iceberg of a whole bunch of violence and military violence that occurred at that time. But I think that idea of a massacre 10 years before the Nakba, and that it just continued going after that, was surprising. Yeah. And
why did you choose the 1936 as the focal point, not the Nakba?
I think that for me, 36 is really the beginning of everything in terms of our history. It was a huge moment for us. It was the beginning of a mass uprising across Palestine, across the cities, the countryside, across classes. It really was a mass uprising, and it changed the game completely. Palestinians took things into their own hands. They rose up against British colonialism and control, and ever since then, we have been in a massive uprising for our own freedom and independence. It's never really ended. It's been crushed. The rebellion of 36 was crushed by 1939. But for me, it's like crushing a fire, and these embers remain, and then it continues and it continues, and it's just been ongoing ever since. But it's really a critical moment, and it sets up the stage for the Nakba, because by the time the Nakba comes around, the leadership has already been exiled. 1 out of 10 Palestinian men are in prison. There are what are called the village files, which were the British had organized surveillance of all the Palestinian villages. They had done surveillance in every single village, who was active, who was intelligent, who was anti-authoritarian, who was speaking out against. They had files on us already at that time.
And this film highlights how the British set up the current system of occupation used today by Israel. How important was it for you to balance, and how did you balance that relevance and to what's happening today?
I mean, I think for me it was very obvious, the connection. I mean, it was the sort of, this is our daily life in Palestine and what we know with checkpoints, with, you know, house demolitions, with human shields, with torture in prisons. I mean, everything that is happening in the daily life of Palestinians today is all set up at that moment by the British. The entire blueprint for occupation and population control, which of course they had perfected at that point because there had been so many colonies all over the world and had taken all the lessons from the different colonies and how to control the native population, and then it was put on us in Palestine. So yeah, it was, and then it was obvious that you know, it's relevant when you watch the film. It's as if nothing, sadly, as if nothing has changed.
And the fact that you had to shoot entirely in Palestine, but you had to move to Jordan due to the Israeli occupation, how did that mirror the actual themes of the film?
Yeah, I mean, it was already a very challenging project that we were going to do something of this scale in Palestine. And we were, you know, most of the team was based in Palestine. The production designer, costume designer, myself, the producer, props, location manager, casting director, we were all in Palestine. And so we knew the challenges of it. And it was about getting around checkpoints and getting around this, and even the village that we found a village that we were going to restore. It took us a long time to find a village because of course all the villages were demolished after 1948. There's only very few that still remain. So we found one and we started this restoration process on that village. We started planting crops, we started doing all this. Meanwhile, getting through checkpoints, there were days where our locations, our recce's were stopped because we were stopped by settlers, or we were all pulled over by the army at a checkpoint and would wait there for hours. And these are all the regular things that happen. This is pre-October 7th. Yeah. So but it's how we always make films. All Palestinians are making films under those conditions. So it's always tried to find your way around it. And then I guess after October 7th, then it became, it was like the whole challenge of everything became times 200.
And how did that affect the crew?
It affected the crew a lot. There were crew that, I mean, we were destroyed. We didn't, I mean, the first few months, I would say, we have friends in Gaza, we have family in Gaza. We were very directly affected by that. We are not in Gaza, but we were based in the West Bank. West Bank was complete lockdown. It took weeks for some of the cast to be able to get home, some of the crew. Everybody was, especially young men, were, you know, the army was coming in and out of villages and our towns, and it was just, you know, it was a nightmare. And yet we were fully focused on what was happening in Gaza. Like, it didn't matter. The film in some ways, you know, was just, who cares about the film right now? We put that on the side. There is now, the violence that we're talking about in the film is nothing compared to the violence that is now happening in Palestine, to Palestine. And so, but eventually, okay, what are we going to do? There's the question, do we continue this project? Are we able to continue this project? And I kept insisting very stubbornly, we're going to continue, because I think also it's something that we all needed, that the crew needed. We had worked for almost a year preparing for it, and then it was just, everything was lost. All of it was lost. So it was like, we have to continue, we have to do it. And I think we needed that because we felt that the project was always important to us. And now it felt even more important than ever before.
Tell us about when you returned back to Palestine. No other film had done that in 2 years. What was that like? It
was very intense. I mean, the thing is, we eventually understood after the 6 or 7 month that we were not going to be able to shoot in our original village because now it was really overrun by settlers, and it was dangerous to put cast or crew on the ground there because these guys are completely unhinged. And it just, you know, so we had to find another village, and that was a very hard pill to swallow, that these locations and everything that we had prepared, we built machines, we built weapons, we built tanks, we built a bus, we built, I mean, all of that stuff. We planted fields of crops. All of that was gone now. And so we looked to Jordan, because Jordan has always been a place that Osama and I have always worked. I mean, more than 25 years. We've made a lot of films here. We work here. We're very connected here. Even some of the crew was from Jordan that was going to come to Palestine. We had worked on getting Jordanian crew permits to come to Palestine for this. Now we came to them. Yeah. So we came to Jordan. Jordan has always sort of provided that other space for us, and we found another village up in the north. We had to restore it. We had to start everything from zero. And it was very painful and it was very difficult. And yet we were amongst friends and family. So there was, and people who also understood how important it was. So, but I kept insisting, because we had some scenes that were by the sea. We had scenes that are in Jerusalem. I insisted we have to go back to Palestine no matter what to finish the film. I don't want to finish it abroad. The producers were suggesting to go to Cyprus, go to Greece, go to Morocco, go to even Croatia. I got location images from Croatia. I said, we're gonna finish it in Palestine. We really are, no matter what.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, like there's a genocide going on. I'm like, I know, but we live there, we work there, we have the right to do that. We have to fight for that. This place might all be gone soon. I mean, we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's happening tomorrow. So if we can make it happen, let's make it happen by any means necessary. And eventually we came back and we finished the film in Palestine, and we shot in Jerusalem, which is still, to me, when I look at the film now, I can't even believe how we did that.
And how was using rare archival footage important for you to incorporate into the fictional drama that you were doing?
It was really important for me at the beginning for my research. I was looking at the archives all the time, and so was the production designer and the costume designer in the office. Our entire office was plastered with images, photographs of every single scene in the film, how it corresponded to an archival image. We used it a lot for everything, just the entire, building the look of the film, of the costumes, of art, of everything. And I had written archives into the script, that they would be used every now and then in the script. Once we started shooting in Jordan, the archives suddenly became even more important, because now that lost world of the archives felt even more lost, because now we were removed from it physically as well, from the actual locations.
Displaced, if you will.
Displaced. And I kept saying, we're not going to be a refugee film. We're not going to be a refugee film. We're going to go back to Palestine and we're going to shoot in Palestine. And the archives helped open the frame to see this is the world of the characters. This is where they live. Yeah. This is what it looks like. And they're incredible. The archives are really incredible. The British were really good at filming everything, and they filmed everything. They filmed tennis matches. They filmed planting, Palestinians like harvesting olives. They filmed, their crimes also, blowing up houses. I mean, all of that is filmed, so it's incredible. And it was something very important for me, for the film, to show the world of the characters and to colorize it. I insisted to colorize it. And when we lost everything after October 7th, it was a financial disaster, as you can imagine, because everything we'd spent a year building in Palestine, we lost. So we had to start from zero. But I insisted that we color the archives because I wanted it to be alive. I didn't want it to be black and white. I didn't want to go backwards in time, like the viewers watching the film and then they see black and white archives. So it's like you're returning to the past. No, I don't want to return to the past. I want to move forward with the character. This is the world of the characters, and it's alive. We're in 1936, but it's alive. And so it's colorized by us.
What's your favorite shot of the film?
My favorite shot?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow, that's a good question. I have a lot of moments that I really love. I don't know if I have a favorite shot.
The Karim shot?
Yeah.
When the bus blew up?
Yeah. Spoiler.
They must have seen they must have seen the trailers.
No, it's not in the trailer.
It's in the first look of the film.
Yeah, it's supposed to be not anywhere, but the Saudi distributor put it in their trailer because they said it attracts the audience. And I'm like, that's a spoiler. No, don't do that.
It broke my heart, honestly.
I know.
We can cut that out.
That is a heartbreaking moment. There's a lot of heartbreaking moments. There's a lot of moments that I still, because I also know how real it was for the cast, how much in pain the cast was making this film. Because when you asked how it affected us, it also affected psychologically what was happening. We were in the middle of a genocide and filming this story. and the cast was very much affected by it. We all were affected by that, but they're on camera, and those feelings and that pain is really real, even with the extras in the film. You know, usually you have to prep extras for a scene, like explain that, you know, this is where the army comes in, and this is what the army does, and it's, you know, we didn't even have to explain anything. You have a bunch of guys dressed in the army, and they come in, and everybody felt it immediately and accessed the emotion and the pain of that very immediately.
Ward al-Helu, who plays Kareem, he told me that in one of the scenes where he was supposed to act, he just cried instantly, and it was real. He told me I was not acting at all, and it was completely real.
Yeah, it was real, and we were all crying with him, and afterwards I went and cried with him, and I think we spent actually several hours crying after that. It was so real. It took him a long time, it took all of us a long time to get out of it, and it was one take, and he did that in one take. He was very nervous about it because he said, what if I mess up? What if I mess up? I said, you're not going to mess up. If you mess up, we'll just do another take and another take and another take, and we'll do it tomorrow. Don't worry, there's no pressure. And he just, first take, he's really talented.
The audience has to watch the entire film so they know which
scene
we're talking about. There's almost, in the film, there's almost no real contact between Palestinians and Jewish settlers. It's all just the English. Why was that important for you?
For me, it was important that the film is authentic and it's real. It's about very specifically the British at that moment, and this relationship between the Palestinian characters of the film, the main characters of which it's an ensemble cast, and there's, I would say, 6 main units of characters. The 6 character units, I'll call them, and their interaction with the British, with occupation, with what's happening. It's like, it doesn't, you know, it's maybe somebody's ideal, probably in the United States, to see like the story of the of the Palestinian and the Jewish like neighbors that, you know, are friends, and then, you know, Nakba happens or whatever. It's like, I'm not interested in that story. I was very interested in what is our history with the British? What were villagers actually dealing with? Who were they interacting with? And it's like Palestinians today. Who do you interact with today? Besides people in your town or your village, it's the army when they come barreling in and arresting kids and doing all this. It's your relationship with the army, and I think it's the same in the 30s with the British. It was the British though, not the Israelis.
And how was it like working with high-profile figures like Jeremy Irons and Liam Cunningham, especially since Jeremy is British?
Yeah, Jeremy was amazing to work with. We were on a jury together in 2020 in Berlin, and it's when I was working on the script at the time, and I just told him about it. In the back of my head, it would be amazing, you know, if Jeremy's in the film, but I didn't say anything. I just told him about the story, and his wife is Irish, and she was like, you have to do this film, Jeremy, you owe it to them, you know, you owe it to them.
You did this.
You did this. Like, and he was like, you know, I'd like to read the script, and he said, if I can be helpful in any way, I would love to help. If my participation is helpful, I'm like, yeah, of course. I'm trying to finance the film. I'd say that Jeremy Irons is attached. Of course it helps. And, you know, he's like, well, then I'd like to be in it. And it was like amazing. And working with him was amazing. And Liam, of course, is, you know, Liam is a different story. Liam is super active about Palestine.
Yes.
It's like one of his, you know, main causes in life. So it's only, you know, a small scene in the film, but I knew that he would want to do it because he would want to support the project. And also the character that he plays was Irish. So it's also interesting because I think it complicates things. It's like, this is, you know, there were Irish people that served empire. There were Palestinians who served empire. Yes. It's not all black and white. It's a lot about class. It's a lot about people who crossed the lines and people who, you know, played on different sides. And so Liam was, he says, you know, one of my favorite lines in the film is his, when he says, we don't want another Ireland on our hands. He says it with an Irish accent.
Yes.
You could do it.
I'll try.
We don't want another Ireland in our, anyway.
Is there an actor that you wish was on the film but couldn't get?
Oh my God, there's so many actors in the film, because I have my main actors, and then I have so many amazing actors. If you watch the
Yes, they're
film,
wonderful.
you will see 20 or 30 cameos by amazing actors who agreed to be in the film even though they don't have main roles because they wanted to participate. So I always joke it was like the revolt, like everybody joined in whatever way they could, because there are well-known actors doing very small scenes. And some of them are here in Jordan, some of them are in Palestine, some of them are international, but so I feel like there were, there were a lot.
You mentioned that making this film was a way of emotional survival. At what point during the filming, especially since it happened during a genocide, when did you feel like you would give up? And what kept you going?
If there were so many challenges, and the first and main one was the genocide, and how to emotionally continue to do something when there's so much destruction around us. Then when we came to Jordan, the first day of shooting in Jordan was the Iranian missile attack.
Oof.
So I was like, what is going on? Every time we're about to shoot, it's like,
Not
and
a
it
good day.
just again and again. We went back to Palestine. Nefs al-Ishi was the Iranian missile attack. We were like in shelters. There were like, the alarms going off during production meetings. When we shot in Palestine, we had to promise we could get the entire crew into a shelter within 5 minutes if there was an alarm. It was just like it became like a joke, like one thing after that. Even in post-production, one thing after another. Even in post-production, in London, I had my first day of grading, and my cinematographer, Helen Louvart, was coming from Paris. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I got a text message from her in which she says, I'm not coming because they've discovered a bomb on the tracks of Gare du Nord train station. There's a bomb from World War II that never exploded.
Oh my
so they've
God.
cleared out the whole neighborhood in Paris, and there's no trains for the rest of the day. I was like, is this a joke? Like, World War II bomb? Like, during the first day of our grading, how does that happen? This train station is the most active train station in Europe. It's been going for 20 years at least.
Almost feels intentional.
It feels intentional. It's like, sometimes I thought that, but anyway.
Definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
And what
So
kept you going?
what kept us going, I would say, actually, people in Gaza kept us going. The idea that people were surviving, were making music, were making jokes, were continuing to live, and that we had nobody in the world has any right to complain, to stop working, to feel sorry for themselves, to feel pathetic. Nobody has that right to do that. When people in Gaza are living what they're living and still manage to get out of bed every morning and insist on life.
And what do you think justice, what does that word mean in Palestinian life?
Justice is what we're striving for, I think. We have not had justice in any way, and I think this is a lot about what this film is about, is that we've had our lives robbed from us. When I saw those archival images of Palestinians being searched, standing at checkpoints, and British soldiers checking their bodies, checking their hats, their hair. When I go through my hair is checked, like everything. I was like, this has been the life of my grandparents, the life of my parents, the life of me, and now the life of my daughter. It's never ended. Just being made to feel like criminals, just for going about your daily life.
And what do you think cinema can do for justice that news cannot?
I don't think cinema can save anybody.
Okay.
But I think that the fact that it refuses us being erased, it insists on life, and there's freedom in cinema. For me, I work in cinema because I feel that I can create a place of freedom and a place of justice, and I imagine everything and imagine a world without borders and do things without having, the fact that everything is made to be impossible for us.
Yeah.
I feel like in cinema we can do that, and we can imagine a different world and create that world. And also, I think it's you know, a big part of, you know, why do we do films is that it's ours too. It just doesn't belong to other people far away. People, you know, live lives in Hollywood or wherever. It's ours, and we have to make it ours.
And we have to make it clear to the world.
Yeah.
What does solidarity with Palestine look like to you?
Well, it's interesting because now we are, I think, in the darkest moment of our history.
Yes.
It has never been so bad.
Yes, I agree.
And yet there's solidarity in the world, and we're feeling that, and we're hearing the voices of solidarity. We've seen that boycotts work. We've seen thousands of people on the streets in, you know, all over the world, millions of people all over the world. And it's really a bit of it's a kind of a strange thing because we've never had it so dark, and yet I feel things are changing, and
That's
they will
true.
change, and this is the end. I really think this is like, there's this, it's very, very dark because something is about to change, about to crack.
Yeah, it can't get any worse than this.
Yeah, but every time we say that, it gets worse, right? So I stopped saying that. I used to always say that. I'm like, khalas, like, stop saying that because it just gets worse.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
In the film, what does land represent?
Land is a central character in the film. In a film that's an ensemble film about a lot of different people whose lives cross and intersect, the thing that they all have in common is the land.
What does attachment to land mean to you?
Look, one thing about the revolt of 36 that I think is important to always say, that it was a fellahin revolt, led revolt.
Yeah.
There was, the upper classes were involved and did a lot. They were petitioning in the UK, there was a leadership, but really it was the fellahin who were running the revolt and giving the British a run for their money. The British had no idea how to handle it. They could not control it. For the first time, they couldn't control something because it was so widespread and because it was something that just didn't make sense to them. The fact that we have community, that we have a lot of things that are, I think, part of our culture, they couldn't understand how to control this revolt. And so what they did was they took it to another level, right? They brought in thousands more troops. They brought in more military. They brought in, you know, tanks. They brought in airplanes. They crushed it in that way because they couldn't figure it out. And that doesn't come from an army that's trained. That doesn't come from people because they're smarter than anybody else. That comes from people who are attached to their land, and they know that people and land belong together, and they protect and serve each other.
What's your relationship to the land of Palestine?
I am somebody who I always have the privilege of Palestine. I grew up and lived in many different places. My family left Palestine after the Nakba, 1967. I chose to come back to Palestine because I was able to, and I choose to live there. I've been living there now more than 20 years, and I consider it a privilege because I look at the sea, I look at our sea. Every spring I travel around. We go to the hills. We pick things. We forage, and I think that I'm really lucky for that, and I'm very conscious of it because most Palestinians cannot. That's the dream, to be able to even go there, to even visit, not even live, just to even visit is not allowed. So I'm
originally, sorry.
Yeah, from where?
Yeah, I'm originally Palestinian from Hebron, and I've never been there.
Yeah.
75%
of our population has never been there. So that's why I'm very conscious of my privilege, and I fight for it, and I stay there because I can.
Yeah, so how does the film relate to our Nakba?
How does it relate to our Nakba?
Yes.
I think it relates very deeply to our Nakba in the fact that it set up the stage for the Nakba. It made us weak, already dispossessed, already without a leadership, already abused, already we were weakened so much, but by the time it was Nakba, of course people fled. We already knew what massacres were. We already knew what torture was. We already knew what it was to be confronted with such violence. So those Palestinians who fled for safety, thinking they would come back, is the most natural thing in the world, and anybody would do that. So I think, yeah, it sets the stage for Nakba for sure.
And if the film could carry one message into Nakba Day, what must it be?
For me, the film is a hopefulness. It's about perseverance in the end. That yes, we are still living violence. We are still trying to insist on our right to live like anybody else in the world and to fight for our freedom and to be a free people. It's been something that we've been fighting for more than 80 years. But I think it's an incredible samud, perseverance that we have, and I think that we carry that from generation to generation. I think it's something to be really proud of, and that it's not been all for nothing. All the struggle is leading to liberation.
I agree, and it's obvious what we're living today.
Yeah.
And what did you learn about detention, interrogation, captivity in the period the film was set in? And what shocked you most?
The British perfected the idea of torture that doesn't show on the body. How to torture a prisoner without it showing. And that's something we're still dealing with today, and we see a lot of it today.
They taught them well.
Yeah, they taught them really well. And there is a scene in the film I actually removed, but we shot, which is a waterboarding scene, because the British are the ones who brought waterboarding as a torture method. And so this character, Naif, is waterboarded in the film, and we shot that scene. I think I will eventually release that scene, but for me it was too much in the film. There was just so much violence and pain in the film. And, you know, when you're in the editing room, you have to figure out, you know, what can an audience really deal with, and you can't put it all in because it's really numbing. But that was a hard scene to film, and knowing that, you know, the cinematographer who shot that scene was Irish. So I said, okay, we're going to shoot this waterboarding scene, and he goes, I've shot 7 waterboarding scenes in my life. I'm Irish, so they did it to us too.
How does the film approach imprisonment as a system and not only as an event?
Yeah. In the film, there's a character of Naif, who's a small character in the film. He's the brother of the main character, Yusuf. We see him arrested, and he's disappeared. The army comes into the village, and they take him away. We don't see him the rest of the film, really, until the very end. And he comes out, and he's changed. And it's a small part of the film, but for me, it's something very, very important and very emotional. We see him come out of that prison, and you can see it on his face. You can see that they've done something to him. You can see he comes out as a different person, and he's changed. And yet, for me, there's a tremendous amount of hope in that he's now carrying something in him that, you know, it strengthens him, and it makes him, you know, it's part of our legacy as well, that we have always had. I think every Palestinian knows somebody who's been imprisoned, and, you know, and they're not criminals. They're political prisoners. They're people who are just fighting for their freedom. And I think for me, it's a way to honor that shot of him. When you talk about what shots I love in the film, that's one of my shots I love in the film, is just him walking from out of the prison.
What do you want global audiences to understand about Palestinian memory?
That we don't forget. We don't forget. Yes. We will not forget. Yes. Yeah, we will never forget, and we will never be erased. I think it's also another obvious thing. No matter what is done to us, we keep going.
Yeah, we survive.
Yeah.
Look at Gaza right now.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
I want to thank you for your bravery in reclaiming our history and for producing a masterpiece. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
And looking forward. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to watching the film.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to the release in Jordan, that it's, you know, on January 1st, it's going to be out all over the place. And yeah,
It's
gonna be
late,
the whole
though.
airport.
It should have been earlier.
I know, but we
That's
weren't
okay.
allowed.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, contracts. All right, thank you.
Give me your papers. Your transit pass to leave the village?
زيك عفو.
I ordered you to stop, Yusuf.
أعطيها. اشرب.